Hey everyone, today we're looking at the Glacial Cascade Templar I've been using for quite a while in Path of Exile. In 2.0, Glacial Cascade got, I think, a pretty substantial upgrade. First and foremost is it hits longer. It used to hit to about right there, but now they added in this extra, just an extra chunk of glacier as part of the cascade, and it's a really nice improvement. The other improvement they made is it actually goes through things now. So you can see it's actually going through like the table and the fire pit there. That's because, and the books. And does it go through that? Yeah, it does. It goes through sort of, environment objects now. It doesn't go through walls, but that's fine. Because, that's fair. A lot of things just won't go through walls. But it does go through environmental features now, which is a massive upgrade to what Glacial Cascade is. And it makes the ability, quite frankly, more fair, and it actually makes it very usable now. It did get a slight statistical downgrade, but I think it technically cast slower and had a little bit of its crit removed, but I haven't noticed any huge damage loss on what Glacial Cascade is. So my Glacial Cascade is level 18. I just got it to 18 apparently. And I have it linked to Spell Echo and Iron Will. And these are the two gems that make this build work. Because, quite frankly, this build is very cheap. It has a very low barrier to entry. And I've had it working quite well recently with some of the improvements they made in the passive tree. Even with some of the nerfs made to the Herald of Thunder Curse on Hit setup. But, yeah, it's always worked pretty well between Glacial Cascade, Spell Echo, and Iron Will. And even with my 5-link not being exactly what I want it to be, it's still a really solid combination of abilities. So Iron Will got an upgrade as well. And Iron Will used to slow down your attack to add your strength, your strength to your spell damage. But now it gives you just more spell damage in addition to adding your strength to your damage, your spell's damage. So it's a huge upgrade there as well. And that's why the Cascade is shot very, very, very quickly now, on top of having Spell Echo. I am linking it to Mana Leech for two reasons. One is I'm using Mind Over Matter, and two is, as you may notice, the spell does drain my mana globe quite a bit. And I'll point out my Curse on Hit setup may negate needing Mana Leech, but for now I am going to be using Mana Leech attached to Glacial Cascade. And I have Cold Penetration, which doesn't help Glacial Cascade as much as other cold spells, because it's like half physical. Well, about a third. No, I'd say half. It's about half and half. Maybe third, 2/3 physical. So Cold Penetration doesn't help as much. My optimal setup here would be a red, 3 blues, and a green. And I could probably live with 3 blues and 2 reds, or 4 blues and a red. But I'm not going to worry about that right now, because the chest piece I really want to get is a Carcass Jack, and I just can't afford it yet. But like I said, this build has a very low barrier to entry. So my other links, I have Cast on Damage Taken, attached to Immortal Call, and Increased Duration, and Detonate Dead. Detonate Dead right here is more of just a filler, because I wanted something in that green link that would happen when I got hit by, damage. So, I could really fill that with anything that could be cast. Oh, I don't actually think it's cast on Damage Taken, because it requires a spell. Never mind, I'm an idiot. Okay, so I'm going to try to find something to go there. Wait. Sword Gem. It might be cast. I don't know. I'll have to actually... I don't actually know if that is triggered by that. Anyways, moving along. Yeah, it's mostly for the Immortal Call part, because I'll always have Endurance charges up because of Curse on Hit, linked to Shock Nova, and Assassin's Mark and Warlord's Mark. This gives me my 2 charge types. Now, the the thing about Shock Nova, I don't spam it like that. I mostly just hit it once and then move on, because this is for casting my 2 curses at the same time on basically all the enemies around me. It's super fast, and it's super effective for getting the curses on just everything on the screen, more or less. And it's not as good as Herald of Thunder was, but it's really, really good and solid for getting my charges and getting the life on hit and mana leech, the life leech I should say, and mana leech from Warlord's Mark, and applying the debuff, the debuff from Assassin's Mark. So I've been using that as my cursing ability, and it's been really, really great. I have just some random stuff over here. Enduring Cry. I am using Enduring Cry for bosses, mostly for things that won't be dying to Warlord's Mark and giving me endurance charges. I'll be using Enduring Cry against them. Because it's a war cry now, it wasn't working with cast on damage taken. And that's why I think maybe Detonate Dead may not work with it, but whatever. Yeah, I noticed that the actual war cry part of it wasn't triggering, so I just moved it to its own ability, and now I'm just leveling it up. Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder are the 2 damage buffs I'm using, and I may switch out Herald of Thunder to Herald of Ash, which I'm leveling up right now, in the near future. Purity Lightning I don't actually have turned on because my lightning resistance is actually good now from my gear and passives. I was originally using it just to build up my lightning res because it was my lowest resistance, but now my lightning res is actually fine. And I would like to fill that with another blue. I just don't know what yet. So I'm just going to keep that there to level it up, basically. And I do have Summon Ice Golem for its extra crit, even though it dies a lot, because it's still only level 4. And in the map we're going to go into, which I recorded already, but through the magic of editing he's going to come after this, you're going to see him die a lot, mostly from the burning ground that's in the map. I have Lightning Warp with faster casting and less duration, so we get really fast lightning warps, and that's really fun. And my weapon, and I'll point out my 2 main legendaries or uniques I'm using. I don't actually have anything to utilize the gems in here. I have Fire Blast, but I was originally going to use Val Fire Blast in here, and I may still use that, but I kind of want to figure out something I could put into these 3 slots that would really take advantage of the Iron Will this weapon provides. And the weapon is Dune Kubiari, and I'm mostly using it for the +1 increased damage per 8 strength in main hand, which is an awesome damage bonus when you're a Strength Intelligence Templar. My other legendary is the Wrath Pit Globe, for adding the block chances spell damage, and they're both just really solid. Really, that should be a Sapphi's a magic card. Sappho Shield, but I don't have that yet. Like I said, I'm not actually a rich player in this game, so what I have is pretty much either self-found or my friend actually gave that to me, and then he helped me get that because it was a really cheap one, despite it being, well, not badly rolled. I have Ungol's Harmony, Turquoise Amulet for the crit, the Gang's Momentum Legion Boots, and this is part of the reason why I'm considering switching to Herald of Ash, because of the 15% increased damage against ignited enemies. Though I may switch those boots out for something else, and I mean that's totally a switchable thing. I have a Diamond Ring and an Amethyst Ring, that for the Chaos Res, and then its other stats, and this Diamond Ring for the crit and its stats, and my belt's just a belt. Flasks aren't anything worth talking about. So the passive tree, I obviously started in the Templar area, and I'm going to do this like I pretended I leveled this up from nothing, even though I did this all in the big respec, because the first time I did this, I went around this way to Elemental Dominion, but in the respec, and if I were to level this from raw again, from 0 again, I would actually follow this route. So we start down here, we go along the elemental damage nodes to Retribution, then gain Amplify and Light of Divinity and Elementalist. We come through this jewel slot here, which I have Assassin's Haste gemmed in on, and grab Celestial Punishment and Celestial Judgment. Then, because the curses are so important for the build, I pretty much beelined up to Whispers of Doom to have the additional curse on there. And then I came back and I filled in for Arcane Potency, Sovereignty, Purity of Flesh, and Overcharge to get another power charge. After that, I actually went south. I went into the Marauder area, and I grabbed Barbarism, Stamina for that Endurance charge, Juggernaut, Diamond Skin, Armor Mastery, and Heart of the Warrior. So this gives me a nice core of tankiness in addition to giving me all these strength nodes, which help with my damage on Glacial Cascade. I also picked up Expertise and Agility to have plenty of dexterity floating around for all those green gems. Then I came back up here and I grabbed Deep Thoughts, Instability for the power charge, Annihilation, Blast Radius, and Elemental Dominion. And really, I would have gone for Mind Over Matter earlier than I mentioned here, but because it was a late change in 2.0, I went and grabbed Mind Over Matter most recently, and that's been great for my survivability, because combined with the tankiness provided by the stuff down here, and Mind Over Matter, combined with the Mana Leech on Glacial Cascade, and Warlord's Mark, it's very easy to maintain Mind Over Matter, and it's basically 30% damage reduction at this point. Passive going forward, I would probably go to Quick Recovery next, and maybe grab Might for that 30 strength. I'm considering going a more DPS-y route for my last bit of points, and coming over to Snowforged, and then coming all the way down here to grab Infused for a power charge, Cold-Hearted Calculation, Assassination, and then coming over for Freeze, and then, like, this is getting into, like, the 80s territory, so it'd be a very long process to maybe go over and pick up Trickery, and then the Siphons, maybe. I could also see myself going more into the Marauder and getting some, and even maybe down into the Duelist area to get some of these more tanky nodes. But, and, you know, there are strength nodes down here as well, which is always helpful for my damage. And I mean, there's tons of more tanky things down here that would just be great to have for survivability, since I fight really up close. And for my last thing I'm going to point out here, the third blue I want to put in here is Conch Effect. And that's another reason I want to be tanky at this point, is because I want to... It would make Glacial Cascade way, way smaller. It makes it, like, that big. So it's like, it comes down from, like, here to, like, here. So it's like, I'd want to be super tanky to be able to survive up close against the enemies. And that's sort of the reason I want to be very tanky. Aside from, you know, not dying a lot. So that's the build. Up next, we're going to be going into an unimpressive map, but it's just going to show off the build and show off Glacial Cascade. Going to be a level 68 map, and I'll see you guys in there. And here we are. We're in the map. It's only a 68. It had, I think, enemies just did things faster, more casting speed, more movement speed, more attack speed, and then the Burning Ground. And the Burning Ground is what really wrecks my Ice Golem. From what I could tell as I went through it, the Ice Golem, he'd pretty much wander up to the enemies and then die to the fire. And I run through it without hesitation or I just run right through. I just don't even care about the fire on the ground. But yeah, Glacial Cascade has been working pretty well for me. Since I posted those previous videos, it's actually gotten better. It's gotten a little easier to use, mostly because I'm getting more used to 2.0 and getting more used to the new features you have as someone in sort of the top half of the passive tree. But yeah, you can see that Shock Nova is great for getting your curses on. And it really does help with tankiness and damage, being able to get those curses reliably back on now. I don't really know if there's much to say. I did die in this map twice because there was it's like Corrupted Blood, I think, was the enemy. So I took that debuff that you just bleed out super fast for like 5 seconds when you attack them. So I ended up dying a couple times to that. Just first, I wasn't paying attention to it, and then I suddenly died, and I was like, oh, that's how I died. Second, I went to try and kill the guy again, but probably shouldn't have just done that. Probably should have just moved past him. Anyways, I didn't include that here. Obviously, I'm cutting out some of the running in between mobs. And like I always say, I'm not Mr. Captain Efficient at this game, at least not yet. So, yeah, please forgive any sort of like, oh, I'm just wandering around slowly type of things. But yeah, here's just a yellow enemy just dead while bears hitting me on the side. There really isn't that much to say about Glacial Cascade any more than I said previously. I'm considering hooking it to Conch Effect and maybe faster casting if I can get some more mana regen in there to replace the Mana Leech. But yeah, it's doing a great job and just taking out all of my enemies. And I do recommend the build if you're just getting into the game, or if you just want a simple, fun build. It's really great for that. And you can actually make it a serious build too. It's not like this is a noob only build. So it's a great all-rounder build. I mean, I'm just very pleased with the way Glacial Cascade is working, and I enjoy that it is actually a very simple to pick up and use build. So coming up is probably going to be Calm and Desario, or whatever the guy is in the Realm of Desire. I am going to redo those sections for anyone who is curious about it. And they'll probably be what's posted next. Now, I run in here like an idiot, but it's fine, because like I mentioned, having the curses up all the time and having the native tankiness that Mind Over Matter provides is just really helpful. And I kind of use that rock to control where the enemies go, because now Glacial Cascade will shear through it. So it's actually becoming a really helpful tactical advantage that Glacial Cascade can go through things a little easier now, because you'll just be able to throw the cascade through things, and you'll be more protected because the environment is your ally more now than a hindrance. So here's the map's boss. I mostly run away from it and try not to stay in its firestorms, but because of Glacial Cascade's new length, it's really easy to stay far away from things and not like stand in the fire, and you can very easily keep enemies at bay and keep them away. It's very, very solid now what it does. And you can see I'm using Enduring Cry now instead of relying on Shock Nova for my curses, even though I do keep my curses up. And that's the boss. Pretty simple, even though it is a lower level map than where I am. And we have one final blue pack here. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this guide video, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and leave comments below on the guide to help me improve it, or whatever, or just to say hi.